where you scream to watch that, watch this, and I'll dive down through this hairy flesh.
Hello and welcome to Watch This. I'm CJ Johnson. Thank you for joining me. The Alliance Francaise of Australia is presenting a festival of films of Jean-Paul Belmondo. It's the second time they are presenting a classic French film festival. The festival director, Philippe Platel, joins me on Watch This. Hi, Philippe.
Hi CJ.
So, why are you doing a festival of Jean-Paul Belmondo? How did you decide on Jean-Paul?
Well, it's the second edition of Classic French Film Festival this year. The first one was last year about the blondes, Catherine Deneuve, Jeanne Moreau. And we thought this time we should dedicate time to an iconic male actor. There is a lot of very well-known and successful male actor in France, but let's see, if you list them, there is Alain Delon, Jean-Paul Belmondo, and Gérard Depardieu, let's say, among the most iconic ones. And we thought of Belmondo because he's very topical nowadays. He was awarded last year of a honorary Lion d'Or in Venice, and he has just written his memoirs. So it was the good moment to dedicate some time to Belmondo this year, and is among one of the most successful actors in France. During his 50-year-old career, he attracted 130 million people in cinemas. So it's huge. Each time, in the 80s, each time there was a new film with Jean-Paul Belmondo called Bébel, there was 5 million people going to cinemas.
Is he the biggest star of those three? Alain Delon, Jean-Paul Belmondo and Gérard Depardieu, is he the biggest?
I think they are quite similar, but he has such a long career, starting in the 60s and going till the 90s.
So how do you see the difference between those three men, those three actors?
I think they all have their identity and their legend. Belmondo has this mix of levity and also is a bit mysterious. When you look at him on screen, he's moving all the time, jumping, whirling, smiling. He looks like a bit alienated, but when you look at his look, he has a very melancholic and if not despaired look in some of these films, and particularly in one of them, in Dunkirk, in Weekend in Dunkirk, which will be screened during the festival. It's very interesting because he's on the battlefield, and he falls in love with a girl in this village. And there is this mix of, yes, nonchalance, but also is happy-go-lucky, but a bit despaired as well. So I think it's very unique with Belmondo. Delon is very different. Delon is more like a monolith, is more minimalistic. Belmondo is maybe a bit more complex.
Yeah. He strikes me as kind of the most fun.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like good fun.
Yeah. Good fun, but at the same time, he has been he played many characters who were not supposed to be funny, like a priest in Léon Morin-Prêtre, or this soldier on the battlefield in Dunkirk. Even in Pierrot le Fou, it's or Breathless, or at the beginning of his career in the 60s, when he played with all these these major filmmakers like François Truffaut, Jean-Luc Godard, Alain Resnais, they made him play very ambivalent characters, not funny characters. Then in the 80s, indeed, he played more and more funny characters, flamboyant characters. And there was a very important step in his career called Stavisky, and it will be in the festival as well. I think there was a before and an after Stavisky. Stavisky in the was in 74. It was at the Festival de Cannes in 74. Belmondo produced the film, and he had big expectations in this film, and he really wanted to make this film with Alain Resnais. And it was not the success they expected. Both the critics and the audiences didn't meet these expectations. And after Stavisky, he decided to play funny, go-lucky, flamboyant characters.
Okay.
It was a big disappointment for him. Yeah.
So let's talk about the films you've picked. Obviously, the film we can see behind us at the moment is That Man from Rio,
yes,
which is fun.
It is a very funny film.
Yeah.
It's unique. It's an adventure film by Philippe de Broca. So Philippe de Broca wanted to film a Tintin movie, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
But a real Tintin movie with Tintin, and eventually decided to make another film, That Man of Rio, very Tintin-like, but with more love. It was the thing that missed a lot for Philippe de Broca in Tintin's character, is that there was no woman, there was no love, there was no romance, and it was important for him. So he decided to film That Man of Rio for that reason, with Belmondo and Françoise d'Orléac, and this couple is just incredible. And he's the very flamboyant boy, running all the time, doing his own stunts in Rio and everywhere, in the jungle and with love, and the music is fantastic as well. It's the perfect funny adventure movie which inspired Spielberg for Indiana Jones and inspired a lot of filmmakers after. And it was his first very big success, his first 5 million box office in his career.
So some of the other films, there's Léon Morin, Priest.
Léon Morin Prêtre, Léon Morin Priest, yes. Yeah. By Jean-Pierre Melville. Belmondo played several times, 2 times with Jean-Pierre Melville. So Jean-Pierre Melville had a very specific status in the 60s. You know that in the 60s, there was this big new trend called the Nouvelle Vague, with Jean-Luc Godard, with Truffaut, and they wanted to do something fresher, something new. They didn't like the old generation of filmmaker, except Jean-Pierre Melville. Jean-Pierre Melville was probably the only one who the Nouvelle Vague filmmakers respected, and he's quite iconic as well. Jean-Pierre Melville. He lived in most of the time. He lived in a luxury hotel, like Stavisky.
Really?
Yeah, and in his own studio in the 14th arrondissement of Paris, and all these filmmakers of the Nouvelle Vague went and saw Jean-Pierre Melville at the hotel, and so they respected him. So it was not surprising that Belmondo played with Jean-Pierre Melville in The Doulos and in Léon Morin Priest. Léon Morin Priest, it was in 1963, just 1 year after Breathless with Jean-Luc Godard. Mm-hmm. So after Breathless, he was the typical running, whirling guy, happy-go-lucky, flamboyant, everything. Suddenly, Jean-Pierre Melville proposes him to play a priest, which is quite surprising after Breathless. And so the action takes place during the World War II. The Nazis occupy France. It takes place in a small village in France. And there is this widow, which is, she doesn't believe in religion anymore because there are all these horrors around her, and she has a Jewish daughter. So she's at the very, she feels that she has no more faith in humanity and in religion. She doesn't believe in God anymore, and she decides to go in a church to provoke a priest. And she meets Jean-Paul Belmondo. She thinks, well, I will meet an old priest or old generation, and
Said she meets Jean-Paul
eventually
Belmondo.
Jean-Paul Belmondo. So it's very interesting because Jean-Paul Belmondo creates this alienation with the character and with the images that we can have about a priest. So it's much more minimalist than in other characters and other films. But it has this distance, and this indeed it's the magic of a miscast. That kind of miscast can be absolutely miraculous, and indeed this is probably why the films work so well, and why this duet between Emmanuelle Riva and Belmondo works so perfectly. She's really she's very serious, very sad all the time, and well, she falls in love with him, of course.
Yes, of course.
It's Belmondo, but it's so it's probably why the film is not that kitsch. It could have been a very kitsch film, and eventually it's a wonder because there is this distance in the way they both play their characters, and particularly Belmondo. So Melville, this first collaboration with Belmondo was Léon and Priest, and then they played the Doulos, which is the iconic polar movie, which inspired many filmmakers like Tarantino, Jim Jarmusch, Johnny To. They all talks about Doulos in their very important references.
So Doulos means?
Doulos, it's the informator for police.
Yep.
And Belmondo, it's exactly like for Léon Morin-Priest, it's a miscast as well.
Yeah.
Because during all the film, we don't know who is who, and is he really an informator or not? Is he the bad guy or the good one? We don't know at all. And even himself, Belmondo, when he played on the set, he didn't know who he was exactly. He didn't know if he was the good one or the bad one.
Oh, wow.
And at the end, when he watched the film, apparently the legend says that he suddenly said, "Oh, but so I'm the good one eventually." It's an iconic film as well.
I've never seen that one, so I look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah.
And now, just
a good occasion.
yeah, I'm gonna try and see them all. And finally, let's just talk about, because this is interesting. You're showing Weekend at Dunkirk.
Yes.
And of course, Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk is out at the moment. And you reckon the Dunkirk, the new one, borrows from this one a lot.
Yeah. It's the perfect timing to show Dunkirk. The Weekend in Dunkirk, or Weekend in Zuidcote is the French title. It was the film has been restored in 4K by Studio Canal, our partners for the festival. And indeed, I would really encourage the audience and the public to go and see both films one after the other, whatever the sense. You can see Nolan's first and Verneuil after.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. It's very interesting because there are many similarities, and it is obvious that Nolan's got his inspiration from Weekend in Dunkirk with Belmondo. The opening scene, for instance, is obvious. There is this rain of flyers in the village on the French soldiers, and the opening scene in Dunkirk, Nolan's Dunkirk, is exactly the same.
Exactly the flies falling on the English soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Because and it's a very good way to. It's a very good screenplay trick to explain to the audience what is happening during this battlefield. It's a very easy and visual way to explain to the audience that the German soldiers were around the village, and that the French and the English soldiers were trapped in this village and on this beach. And it's a very easy and immediate way to explain that in just one image. So they took the same image, both Nolan and Verneuil, and there are many other similarities. And for those who may be a bit frustrated with Nolan's film, story-wise, the Verneuil's one is probably a good addition because they will have more history and they will understand more what happened during this battle between the French and the English soldiers. And of course, there is also something which is missing a lot in the Nolan's movie, is that there is no character. There is no central character.
Yeah.
There is a mass of characters, but the concept of the film is not to show individual stories. While in Verneuil's movie, there is indeed the character played by Belmondo, which is central. And of course, it's easier for the audience to feel empathy and to be more engaged with the character story. While in Nolan's, it's just a very impressive film. Well, it's a very impressive film in terms of technology, sound, visual effects. But is there really emotion?
I agree.
Emotions?
I didn't actually feel emotions.
There is no emotion.
I just admired it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's cold. It's a very cold
It's very
film.
cold, and there is an immediate effect on you. But there is no deeper effect. While in Verneuil's one, it's a beautiful movie. The last scene is a pure poetry. It's beautiful. It's a poem. It's a visual poem. I can't tell more. I don't want to spoil the movie.
Okay.
But the whole film is beautiful, and the last scene is wonderful. Just because there are characters and there is love and there is so it's changed the perspective, of course.
Excellent. Yeah, there's certainly no love in Nolan's film.
Not that much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to coming and seeing them all. Very excited.
Yeah.
They're running at the end of August. Philippe Platel has programmed the festival. And as I say, it's running at the end of August throughout Australia. So check out the website, which you can find at the bottom of the screen. It's the Alliance Francaise Classic French Film Festival featuring films of Jean-Paul Belmondo. You've been watching Watch This. Take care.